verse 2 and 4. Also thank God for this family, friendship family. All y'all know y'all consider family. It's a blessing to be here. I also want to send publicly a special thanks out to Rashida, because one of the hardest times in our family life, when my mother-in-law went home to be with the Lord, Rashida didn't only come over to the house to pray. She brought a whole prayer band with her. And we got in our living room. We formed a circle in the living room, and we prayed for that. That was one of the hardest times in our life. My wife and the mother was so close. But not only did she come and pray with us, and her prayer band came to pray with us, she also sung at the homegoing. So that was a double honor. Thank God for my cousin back there, teaching Sunday school and kids church. God bless you. So there's the word from the Lord. James chapter 1, verse 2. And it reads, "Consider it all joy, my brother, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. And let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." Flip over with me to James, also to Peter chapter 4, verse 12. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. I got to tie these in together because this is so on point. These are two different writers, right? It seems like they're saying the same thing. Peter chapter 4, verse 12, and it reads, "Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal among you, which comes upon you as your testing, as though some strange thing were happening to you. Be not strange." To tie it all in together, I want to read this one verse from Genesis chapter 50, and it's verse 19 and 20. And hear me on this one. "But Joseph said to them, 'Do not be afraid, for I am in God's place. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for my good.' But for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for my good." I just want to talk on a few moments on the subject. Look at your neighbor and say, "Neighbor, what's your story?" Look at your saying neighbor and say, "Neighbor, do you have time?" Say, "Neighbor, oh neighbor, what's your story? Do you have time?" Because it's going to take time to tell my story. Do you have time? What's your story? My God, my God. Do you have time? I would like to also pin this with a subtitle that would be called "Being an Influence in a Hard or Chaos Situation." Being an influence in a hard or chaos situation. What's your story? Do you have time? My God, my God. I believe, my brothers and sisters, that every born-again Christian can write a book about their lives. We have all kinds of books out in this world today, whether it be horror, whether it be comedy, whether it be true or fiction or false. But I believe that this day that every Christian can write a book about their own lives, designed by God. We have many, many millions of novels and books, true or false. The truth be told, we have a story to tell. Look at them and say, "We have a story to tell." If we tell the truth, this story will have some up and downs. This story will have some failures. This story will have some problems and some struggles if we tell the truth. But the problem is that most folks like to tell a story and paint a picture that's not always true. Because we want people to think that our lives have always been great. We want people to think in our lives, for some reason, that we have always been saved. From our mother's womb, we knew everything. We did everything right. We want people to think that we got it and always had it all together. But if the truth be told, we all have a story to tell. And in that story, there will be some failures. Talk about it. See, because you got to understand that the failures of life that comes our way is the same thing that help build our character. Say, build your character. There are challenges that come our way. There are situations that come our way. There are trials and there are circumstances and there are tribulations that come our way. Look at you and say, neighbor, do you know your story? See, one day I found out that success is what everybody is striving for. But to tell the truth, in order to obtain success, money won't get you there. People won't get you there. But true success, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor's going to take Jesus. Say, neighbor's going to take Jesus. See, I look unto the hills from coming my help, and I found out that all my help coming from the Lord. See, we, the church, has come to crossroads in our lives. There is, in our lives, the world wants us to believe that there's nothing absolutely right or true. See, the world wants you to believe that there's nothing absolutely right or wrong. See, the world wants us to be between two opinions. The Bible said that a double-minded man is what? Unstable in all his ways. See, but the world wants us to believe that there's nothing absolutely right and there's nothing absolutely wrong. Do what makes you fail. Do what makes you right. But the truth of the matter is, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the light. And no one comes to the Father but by me. No one comes to the Father by me. See, we live in a day and society now, everything is done by man's vote. Nobody is seeking God. Let's say nobody's seeking God. And that's the problem in the world. Everything is done what they believe. Everything is done on votes and this vote and the Republicans and the Democrats and this situation. But nobody talk about what does God say. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, what did God say? No story, no glory. I'm trying to help somebody. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. See, James states, blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which is the Lord has promised to them that love him. But see, if I had to break that down, we must understand that endurance simply means to bear or undergo pain or injury without yielding. Temptation, that means that must be the lure. The tempter is the seducer. So if it is tempting, that means you are attracted to it. So if we reread the scripture, it would say, Pastor, it would say, Elder, it would say like this: blessed is the man that bear and undergo pain without yielding to the lure, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of glory for overcoming the seducer, the tempter, when it becomes tempting and attractive. When it becomes tempting and attractive. What's your story? Let me tell you about Joseph's story. We just read in chapter 50 of Genesis the story about Joseph, and at the end of Joseph's life, he said these words: don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. You meant it for my evil, but God turned it around for my good. For what good? What is Joseph talking about? We have to get into his life to understand why did he say that. I said we have to get into his circumstance to understand why did he say that. He said, don't worry, you meant it for my evil, but God turned it around for my good. See, we got to understand that we are overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. I said we are overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. I believe as Christians a lot of times that we don't tell our testimony because we don't believe that we delivered anything. I say a lot of times we don't tell our testimonies because we don't believe ourselves that we are delivered. Help me somebody. Yeah, we don't believe ourselves that we are delivered. Because we don't want nobody to catch us on the dock of our job in 20-degree weather smoking a cigarette. We don't believe that we deliver ourselves. Help me somebody. See, we don't want nobody to catch us coming out of the liquor store and slurring with our words and weaving and wobbling. We don't believe we delivered ourselves. So that's why we don't tell our testimony. See, the Bible said we are overcome by the word of our testimony and by the blood of our lamb. See, we got to understand, we don't want folks to catch us cursing people out. Good God Almighty. See, we don't believe that we are delivered ourselves. We don't want people to catch us coming out of the hotel at 2 in the morning with somebody that's not our husband nor our wife. We are overcome by the word of our testimony. We don't testify because we don't believe ourselves as Christians that we are delivered. Help me somebody. I know I'm talking right. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, don't worry. It's only a test. It's only a test. See, anytime you take a test and you go into the room, there's always pretty much a teacher in the room. And most times that teacher is sitting there quiet. And see, we try to figure out why the teacher is sitting there quiet. Because the teacher is sitting there quiet because the teacher's job is to sit in there and make sure you don't cheat. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, stop cheating. Go through the test. Go through the trial. Go through the situation. Go through the circumstances. Stop cheating. Stop trying to duck pain. Stop trying to duck long suffering. Stop trying to duck denial. Stop trying to duck people talking about you. Stop cheating and go through the test. Look at your neighbor and say, there's only a test. I know I'm talking about it. It's only a test. That's why the teacher did to make sure you don't cheat. Because we have to endure like a hardship. We have to endure like a good soldier. We have to let this mind be in us that what was also in Christ Jesus. No story, no glory. We have to be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. See, the problem is we try to do stuff on our own. That's why we fail. We keep trying to be strong in our power. But I come to understand I don't have no power. I got Bible power to come from Jesus. Because the Bible said, greater is he that's in me than what? The he that's in the world. My God, my God, my God. Help me somebody. Somebody help me. How does the Jehovah Witness, my God, get their people to stand on corners of the street all times of day and all times of night, passing out watchtowers, passing out papers on Thanksgiving Day, passing out papers, passing out watchtowers on Christmas Day, passing out papers, passing out watchtowers on New Year's Eve, passing out papers, passing out watchtowers all through the day, passing out papers, passing out watchtowers. How do Jehovah's Witnesses get their people to do that, and we as Christians won't even pass out a flyer? My God, my God. How do Jehovah's Witnesses get their people to do that, and we as saints won't even come to Bible studies? Yeah, that goes door to door early in the morning. Door to door. How do they get them folks to do that? But we Christians say we got the power, but we can't get nobody to pass out a tract. Help me somebody. We say we walk by faith and not by sight. We say we love Jesus. See what it is, I come to find out that we're supposed to walk by faith and not by sight, but we walk by what we see. And because we walk by what we see, our feelings get in it. Our feelings get in it. We don't got time for nothing more because our feelings get in it. See, we got to understand, verbal faith is not enough. Bible says faith without works is dead. See, we have a bunch of Christians that has verbal faith. They can talk the talk. They can talk the talk. They can quote every scripture, but you will never catch them walking the walk. When it's time to do some work, them the ones you're not going to find. They got a lot of verbal faith. They talk the talk, talk the talk, talk the talk. Matter of fact, the Bible says, he that believes must believe that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. He said, be not a double-minded man, because it's like this. He that hears the word and doesn't do it, it's like looking at themselves in the mirror. And when they turn, they immediately forgets what they look like. My God, look at them and say, neighbor, what's your story? Do you have time? How does the Muslim get? They people in the 100 degrees weather put on a suit with a bow tie and sell final calls and a bean pie all up and down the highway. How do they get their people to do that? And as soon as we say we having a prayer night, won't nobody even come. My God, my God. Look at you and say, neighbor, Your story. So Joseph, back to Joseph. Joseph's story. Joseph had some brothers, and he was the youngest of the brethren. And his father, let me help you out, favored him. And I always was taught that it's a dangerous thing when you favor one kid over the other. I don't care what the situation is. You're never supposed to favor one over the other. One may be doing good, one may not be, but you're supposed to love them the same. So Joseph had brothers, but his father favored him because he had Joseph at an old age, say old age. So not only did he favor him, it was so obvious that he was the favorite, his brothers hated him. Matter of fact, they hated him so much, they said nothing good about him. They couldn't even talk nice to him. That's how much they hated him. But to make a long story short, Joseph's brothers didn't like him. To make matters worse, they didn't like him. Guess what? He had there to tell him his dream. Joseph had a dream. My God, my God. Woo, some people say he should have shut his mouth. See, because we live in the world now, and you can't tell everybody about your situation. We live in a time today now, and you can't tell everybody what God's about to do in your life. We live in the world today, ain't nobody happy for nobody. Help me somebody. We got some dream killers. We got some haters in the house. But I like to tell my haters, thank you. Because as long as you hate, God got to push me to the next level. So Joseph decided to tell his dreams to his brothers that didn't like him. So if you read the text, his dream was that God gave it to him. This wasn't nothing he conjured up. Now, we got folks in the world conjure up stuff. But Joseph's dream came from the Father. And his dream was put him over top of his brothers at the end. He was going to be ruler over them. And then he had to tell his father the dream. Then he could be ruler over his father, over his brothers. To make a long story short, they already hated the brother because he was the father's favorite. And see, to make matters worse, the father threw it in their face because the father made him a coat of many colors. Made him a robe, and that robe was so colorful. It had all kinds of colors in it. All kinds of colors in the robe. It was beautiful. So Joseph knew what was going on. So he decided to wear the robe in front of his brothers. Some say he was bragging and boasting and letting them know, I'm the favorite. So he decided to wear the robe in front of his brothers. So after that, the brothers went out to tend to the flock because the father owned plenty of flock. He had a big business going on, and they took over the business. So they was out there in the flock taking care of the business. So the father told Joseph, go find your brothers and see what's going on in the vineyard. So make a long story short, Joseph goes looking for his brothers. He can't find them. So he asked someone, do you know where my brothers at? Joseph finds his brothers, but before he finds his brothers, they spotted him. And you know what they said? Here comes that dreamer. Here comes that dreamer. They was already hating on him. So they conspired just that fast when they seen Joseph to kill him, his brothers. They said, let's kill him, let's kill him, let's kill him, let's kill him. But to make a long story short, what happened was that they said, no, let's not kill him. One of the brothers said, no, let's not kill him. So there was a pit that was empty. Let's throw him in the pit. My God, this is Joseph's story. What's your story? So they find this pit, they throw Joseph in this pit and leaving them for dead. So they decided not to kill him, so they throw him in this pit. And then all of a sudden, people coming down, they're going to the marketplace, and they say, well, let's sell him as a slave. So Joseph found himself being, instead of killed, sold as a slave. Then while Joseph was being sold as a slave, because you got to understand this, most people don't care nothing about you. Most people don't like you because the anointing is on your life. You got to try to keep figuring out why people don't like you, going, having headaches and having back spasms and going through all this trying to figure out why people don't like you. Some folks don't like you because you're anointed. Some folks don't like you because you're called by God. But I come to tell you, do wear the gift well. So look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, wear the gift well. Don't worry about your haters, wear the gift well. Don't worry about the backbiters, wear the gift well. So Joseph was sold as a slave. So when he got into Potiphar's house, the gift that he carried was he was able to interpret the things. He could interpret dreams and stuff like that. So that was his gift. And immediately Potiphar understood the gift that was on his life. Because the Bible says, and Potiphar found favor in Joseph. So here Joseph is being put in the pit, spared from death, being a slave in the Potiphar's house, and the Potiphar make him ruler over his house. What's your story? So the Potiphar makes Joseph ruler over his house because of the anointing that was on his life, because of the gift that was in his life. And see, you got to understand, haters are going to be haters. I looked up haters. You know what haters' job is to do? Haters' job is to hate. I'm not mad at a hater because if a hater's hating, they're doing their job. So Joseph found himself in the Potiphar's house, and he was over everything. Everything was going well, and all of a sudden, here comes Potiphar's wife. Ooh, my God, what's your story? All of a sudden, somebody say all of a sudden. Here comes Potiphar's wife. So she laid eyes on Joseph. And she said, lie with me. And Joseph said, how can I do such wickedness in the sight of God? Everything that this man has, everything that the Potiphar has, he put in my hand and put me over control of. How can I do such great thing? So she said, lie with me. And if you read the scriptures, every day while he was ruling that house, this lady came and made passes at him. So one day when nobody was home, wasn't no witnesses, nobody, she said, lie with me, and Joseph said no. So she began to grab Joseph to have sex with him, and Joseph fled. Look at the name and say, Joseph fled. Men, I come to tell you, you're not no punk because you fled. Joseph fled. Joseph ain't had time to be sitting there trying to figure out how strong I am. Say, Joseph fled. Woo, that's how we get in trouble. That's how we get in trouble. We try to figure out, we try to sit there and rationalize the situation and say, for God before me, who gonna be against me? We try to rationalize the situation, and we'll say, I lift up my head from my help, and all my help coming from the Lord. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, Joseph fled. He ain't had time to be trying to rationalize what might happen, how strong he might be. Joseph didn't say be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Joseph fled. And then the lady lied to him. So here we go with Joseph's story. What's your story? Joseph's story, he found himself being spared from murder, from death, thrown in the pit, taken out of the pit, being sold as a slave. He got the head of the house because of a lie. You got to understand, Joseph is going through this stuff because of his integrity. He's not going through this stuff because he's sinned. And so that's a word for everybody in this house. Because you serve God, because you love God, because you call on the name of Jehovah Jireh, because you call on the name of your provider, doesn't mean trials not coming your way. I want to say that again. Because we have a messed up theological understanding of who Christ is. Christ loves you regardless of what you go through. Christ still loves you when the bills are due. Christ still loves you when everything is acting against what you believe. Christ still loves you. But the problem is, since he loves us through all this, we got to learn to love him through all that. Can I say that again? If Christ loves me when my bills are due, when no money's in my pocket, if Christ loved me while I was a sinner, and Christ loved me when everything was looking haywire in my life and chaos in my life, and I was in a hard place in my life, I should at least love him. I shouldn't turn my back on him. I shouldn't have failed the test on him. Look at them and say, neighbor, pass the test. Stop cheating. Look at them and say, stop cheating. This test, you were made for this test. You was born for this test. Endure this test. Go through this test. Lift up your heads, you everlasting doors, and be ye lifted up, because the King of glory is here. Who's the King of glory? God strong and mighty. Mighty in battle. You got to go through this test, because the problem is you're not going to be able to duck it. You might fail it, but you're not going to be able to duck it. Somebody asked Job about this test. Job was minding his own business. And God consulted the devil, and the devil consulted God. And God said, have you considered my servant Job? I think that was unfair. If I'm serving you and I love you, and my life seems to be going good, and everything seems to be coming in order, and everything seems to be going good, why would you put me in the midst of the fire? I think that's unfair. Because God said, have you considered my servant Job? And when God said that, all hell has broke out in Job's life. Say, neighbor, what's your story? Because of God considered Job, Job was the richest man on earth at the time. He cornered the market for the transportation business. He had cattle everywhere. He had everything. He cornered the market for the food business. He cornered the market everything. Donald Trump has nothing what Job had. If Job was in the modern day time, Job would still be the richest man in the world right now. Warren Buffett has nothing over what Job had. So Job lost everything Job went to sleep one night, a billionaire, multi-billionaire, and woke up the next morning broke. Not only woke up the next morning broke, woke up and his kids was dead. What's your story? So Joseph found himself being thrown into prison. Good God Almighty. This ain't getting good. So now he's in the prison, and even while he was thrown into prison, there was a baker and a butler in the prison. And they had dreams that they couldn't interpret. And Joseph even interpreted their dreams. So here we go because of the anointing on his life. Here we go because of the gift in his life. They found favor in Joseph. My God, my God, my God. You got to get this. You cannot wear yourself about haters. Matter of fact, when you do all you can do for somebody, and they continue to hate on you, after you done did this for them, you done prayed for them, you done gave them this, and then you gave them that, they keep turning their back on you, you keep trying to please them, you keep trying to go through to show them that you love them. After you keep doing all that, you're going to have to come to a time in your life, you're going to have to say, okay, enough is enough. My God, my God. I dare you to say enough is enough. And see, when you get to that point where you say enough is enough, you need to go to the Hallmark store. And you need to find yourself a card. And when you get in the Hallmark store and find yourself a card, go to the sympathy section. Go to the sympathy section. Get your good old sympathy card. And what you need to do, write their name in that card. And you need to mail it to them. And you need to say in that card, sorry for your loss. You keep hating on me, sorry for your loss. You keep talking about me, sorry for your loss. And I'm praying for you, sorry for your loss. I'm having headaches, can't sleep at night, worrying about your situation, worrying about your problem, and you're going to keep treating me like I ain't nobody. Sorry for your loss. After all I've done and tried to do, and I got to keep doing this to please you, sorry for your loss. Sorry for your loss. So Joseph, in his story, was thrown in prison. Say thrown in prison. My God, my God, my God. And when he was thrown in prison, they found favor in Joseph again. And the baker and the butler, he interpreted their dreams because of his anointing. And then the butler was released. And Joseph said, don't forget about me. How many folks have forgot about you when you did all you could do for them? Soon they got on their feet, they talk about you like a dog. They forgot about Joseph. And all of a sudden now, Potiphar has a dream. And he can't interpret the dream. And the cupbearer said, hold up, I was in prison. And I met a brother named Joseph who interpreted our dreams. Let's go see about him. Here go that anointing again. Here go that gift in your life. So they called Joseph in, and Joseph interpreted Potiphar's dream. And because he interpreted Potiphar's dream, he was made ruler again over everything in Egypt. Look at your lips and say, neighbor, what's your story? He was able to interpret his dream. Potiphar then found favor in Joseph again, put him over all the food, put him over everything, and there was a famine in the land. Someone said there was a famine in the land. Meaning there was no food. And everybody needed food, and everybody was trying to get this last little bit that was left. So Joseph's father told them, because you got to understand in the beginning, they took Joseph's coat that was made of many colors that he wore real good. And they took his coat and they dipped it in blood. And they took it back to the father and said, Joseph is dead. They told his father that he was dead because some wild animal has eaten him. And they dipped his coat, they killed the animal, dipped the coat in the blood, took it back to his father. So his father was grieving all this time. His father thought that his favorite son was dead. So now there's a famine in the land, and they need food, and they have nowhere to get it. So he had to send the other brothers to go get food. To make a long story short, the Bible says that Joseph said, you meant it for my evil, but God turned it around for my good. Because at the end, they needed food, they needed somewhere, and they came to Joseph, and Joseph was over everything. And Joseph seen them from afar off. They didn't know who Joseph was, but Joseph knew who they was. See, you got to understand, you got to bless those that curse you. Because there's a bigger blessing. You ain't got to do wrong to them to do wrong to you. Be not overcome by evil, but what? Overcome evil with what? Good. You You ain't got to hate on folks because they hate. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, what's your story? My God, my God. I'm about to close, y'all. But in your story, look at your neighbor, in your story, you must have 5 things when you write your story. I said you must have 5 things when you write your story. When you write your story, there must be 5 things in your book when you write your story. Because we know in Joseph's story that they meant it for evil, and God took her and turned it around for his good. So in your story, you must say, be prepared. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, you must be prepared in your story. Ooh, my God, my God. You must be prepared. See, I found that we prepare for a lot of things, but we're not prepared for the battle. In the church, we prepare for a lot of things, but we're not prepared to fight. We talk a good talk, like I said earlier, but we're not prepared to fight. Paul states, I desire to feed you with meat, but like babes, you must grow up. When I was a child, I thought as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away all childish things. See, we have to be prepared for the battle. We are in warfare. We so busy fighting each other in the church, we ain't got time for nobody else. We can't solve nobody else's problem because we so busy fighting each other in the choir. We so busy fighting each other on the deacon board. We so busy fighting each other on the trustee board, on the usher board. We have to be prepared for the fight, say for the fight. People are losing their jobs, their homes, and some people are even losing their faith, and we in here fighting each other. We need to be prepared for war, say war. We prepared to shout. We prepared to dance, but we ain't prepared for war, say war. Joseph stayed prepared. You know how I know, even after his brothers plotted against him, and after Potiphar's wife wrongly accused him, and the baker forgot about him, Joseph still remained faithful to God. See, he still endured like a good soldier. See, if you don't get prepared for the devil, guess what? The devil's already prepared for you. Number 1, in your story, you must be prepared. Number 2, in your story, you must become pregnant, expecting, carrying something like a fetus. You must become pregnant. You must have become pregnant so you can give birth to the things of God. You must conceive his will in your spirit. See, the problem is some of us cause so much hell in the church because we ain't carrying nothing worthwhile. That's why it's so easy for us to cause so much trouble in church because we're not carrying anything worthwhile. God's will. Some of us got pregnant, but it wasn't by God, it was by the devil. Yes. Walking around with all this hatred. We got pregnant by the devil. Walking around with all these rumors. We got pregnant by the devil. Walking around with envy and strife. We got pregnant by the devil. Walking around with lies and destruction. We got pregnant by the devil. See, because what I know about sin is that, Rashida, most people take sin and try to magnify it. They try to put one sin over another. I need you to help me on this one. See, let me let you know something. Homosexuality is not the only sin in the Bible. I'm not scared. Homosexuality is not the only sin in the Bible. See, we try to put sin over top of each other. Look to the other and say, neighbor, lying is a sin. I know I'm talking right. I say lying is a sin. See, you know one thing about a liar? The devil is the author of lies. So they must be belongs to the devil when they go around here lying. Because she was lying in the beginning, and he's a liar now. So the devil, lying is a sin. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but biting is a lie, is a sin. Gossip is a sin. My God, gossip is a sin. And see, one thing about gossip is they love dirt to take it somewhere else. And see, what the problem is, when they finish getting the dirt from you to take it to somebody else, when they finish spreading the dirt, they have nowhere else to go with it, so they're going to find dirt on you. My God. See, that's what happens with backbiters and gossipers. They have all the dirt to give to somebody, so when they run out of dirt, they're going to find some dirt in you to give to somebody. And see, the bad thing about a backbiter and about a gossiper is when they run out of stuff to gossip about, they'll make a lie on you. Woo! Did y'all catch that? I said a gossiper, when they finish gossiping, they'll make up a lie on you to have something to gossip about. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, what's your story? My God, my God. So you got to become pregnant with the things of God. You got to be steadfast and unmovable and always abounding in the work of the Lord. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, in your story, you must be prepared. You must become pregnant. And you must have a purpose. To be reached. A purpose is something to be reached or accomplished. The use in which something is intended. Its reason for being. There are close to 100,000 books written about purpose, saved or unsaved. See, many plans are in a man's heart, but it's God's purpose that will prevail. God has created you for such a time as this. What's your story? God's plans endure forever. His purpose lasts eternity. Know where you are headed, and you will stay on solid ground. Your purpose should be to please God and not man. I said your purpose is to please God and not man. And in your story, you must come in peace. Say peace. Say, I come in peace. Because you got to let peace around you. You can't get caught up in the chaos. If you're going to be an example in a hard spot, if you're going to be an example during tough times, you got to have peace. He will keep thee in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him. See, I don't want to curse you out because you cursed me out. I'm not carnal. See, we got to stop giving everybody a piece of our mind every time we get upset. That's why it seems like we lose our mind, because we give everybody across town a piece of our mind. We don't left a piece everywhere else. We don't have enough for ourselves. I come in peace. I ain't got time to argue with you or cussing you out and you cussing me out. Because guess what? When somebody see that, they don't know who the biggest fool is. When they see us cussing each other or arguing each other down and trying to prove our point, they don't know who the biggest fool is. Look at them and say, I come in peace. What a peace? Is that the peace sign, John? I come in peace. My God, my God, my God. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, I come in peace. When there's confusion in your life, say, I come in peace. When your enemy gets on your nerves, say, I come in peace. For the peace of the Lord surpasses all understanding. The Bible says, hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battles. That was brought my son. That song right there, the battle's not mine. That was brought my oldest son to Christ. The battle's not mine. Hold your peace and let the Lord fight your battle. For the spirit war against the flesh and the flesh against the spirit. So you got to understand, in this fight, in your story, you have to come in peace. You have to be prepared. You got to become pregnant. And you got to have a purpose. When Potiphar's wife lied on Joseph, he still came in peace. Look at your name and say peace. You can't fight the devil with the same tools you use in the world. You can't fight 5 with 5. It's not going to work. You can't do tick for tat. It's not going to work. The Bible said, be not overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. What's your story? And number 5, and I'm closing, you must have prayer in your life. In your story, you must have a praise and prayer in your life. As we close, what's your story? Do you have time? Everybody can write a story in their life, all standing, about something in your life. Whether it's good, the bad, or the ugly, you have to put it all in there. And in your story, you got to be prepared. You got to become pregnant with purpose. You got to have a purpose. You got to come in peace. But most of all, you got to stay prayed up. And you got to have a praise. Because Joseph had a praise at the end And his praise was in his words. He said, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. I know y'all did me wrong. I know y'all tried to kill me. I know y'all sold me as a slave. I know y'all did this. I know y'all did that. So you got to tell them other people in your life, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Because what you did to me in the past has caused me to be a better person today. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. You cussed me out. You lied on me. As soon as I got a raise, you got jealous. Don't worry. As soon as I bought my first house, you couldn't be happy for me. Don't worry. You meant it for my evil. But God turned it around for my good. And because he turned around for my good, I'm going to praise him. Because he's worthy to be praised. Because there's none like him. I will bless the Lord at all times. And his praise shall continually be in my mouth. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. It may rise, but it won't prosper. I look unto the hills from where cometh my help. And all my help cometh from the Lord. I was young, but now I'm old, and I never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, even if for my evil. But I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. Don't worry, even if for my evil. I'm more than a conqueror. I was born to win. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. God got my back. So I just stop by to tell you, what's your story? Do you have a minute? Because the truth be told, we all got a story. And in our story, we're still trying to figure out why this person doing this and why this person got that and why this person got that. Fret not yourself because of evildoers. Stop worrying about why this person this way and this person that place, and worry about getting you where you need to be in Christ Jesus. What good is a man that gave the whole world and still lose his soul? We got a lot of dumb millionaires in the world. Matter of fact, we got a lot of dumb billionaires in the world. They may be dumb in one sense, they may be smart in another sense, but in the reality is we have more rich people that kill themselves than poor people. So it ain't about the money. Because guess what? A piece of mind is worth more than $1 million. They have both legs to me is worth more than $1 million. They have the clergy of speech is more than $1 million to me. So this will help you out when you start getting depressed and thinking about what you don't have and where you should be. Think about this. It could be worse. That's what's going to help you out when you start getting depressed and thinking about stuff. Say to yourself, it could be worse. There's somebody out there worse than me. Then the doors of the church are open, and there's anybody that don't know Jesus.